in the night, your heart fills with dread. Probably a murderer who wants you dead. It could be a ghost, a demon, or worse. Perhaps you're the victim of a witch's curse. It's hopeless, you're doomed. You'd call a priest if you could. You'd rather just listen to Sinisterhood. Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Freaky Friday. It is Friday, June 26th, and we're here to tell
it's the 28th.
Your son of a bitch.
I think we should just tell everyone what's been happening for the past 20 minutes. Because this is technically the son of a bitch is warranted.
This is like the fourth time we tried to start. We had software glitches. I even had a great new intro because I've tried 3 different intros now, but since this is the fourth time. But I will say, because we thank you to everybody who's been watching our stuff on YouTube. We really appreciate it, meeting you over there for streams and stuff. And it's cool because YouTube pushes you to people who have never seen you before, and then you get YouTube comments. And we got one today.
Oh, no,
and I
don't
wanted
tell
to
me.
read it.
Is it Christy looks like a ghoul?
Not at all. You're a beautiful, phenomenal person. And if anyone said that, I would find out where they lived and I would personally beat them up.
That's very sweet. But sometimes I watch them back and I'm like, I could have thrown on some mascara. So
no,
you could tell where, like, I'm so white without makeup that you can't tell where things end and begin. It's you know.
That's not what this person was concerned about. This person was concerned about Sir Garthur Brooks. The gargoyle statue above my head, they wrote, what in the world is that ghoulish statue with wings? Is Satan? ? Satan? Satan? I don't normally read the comments, but it was about Sir Garthur Brooks, so I just wanted to share that. It's not Satan. If you watch us on YouTube, not. He is a garden gargoyle that we purchased because of Freaky Friday. Yeah. So I thought it was appropriate to address that comment here on Freaky Friday, which was Sir Garthur's origin story. I was like, I swear, I'll buy that. I'll buy the statue right now.
I thought it was a live stream. It was Freaky Friday?
Freaky Friday is where we got the idea, and then we bought it, and I
feel like I'm his stepmom.
Yes,
he doesn't live with me though. Heather's got full custody.
Yeah, it's great. But then on a live stream, I wanted to. You were on your way over here, and I was like, I'm gonna come bring this gargoyle in and surprise her when she walks in. So I took it off the porch and brought it inside.
Yeah,
so
no, he needs to be
seen
all the time, not just if you're going to your front door.
From a perspective of a stranger, it does look like Satan. So she's not wrong. It's not an out-of-pocket question.
No, it could be Satan. No comment about the fuck-mouth moon beside it?
No, she was like, well, obviously you're going to have a sexual moon. That makes sense. But is that the devil next to you? It's not. He's, by the way, royalty, Sir Garthur Brooks.
He has been knighted by us.
So, yeah, I just wanted to address that here at the top. It is a gargoyle, not the devil.
Not the devil.
That's what we do here on Freaky Friday is tell your odd but true stories. And no gargoyles today, but it does run the gamut from very serious brushes with true crime all the way to a Bigfoot mention.
Yeah, and then a crime we've probably all experienced at the end.
Yes. A very relatable one to take us out in the bubble part of our haunted house
of our bubble pit, our bubble foam
bubble pit. Well, we kept saying we need a bubble pit because it's hot as hell here, and it's probably hot as hell from wherever y'all are listening from. I guess unless you're in Australia, in which case take me with you. But to get out of that, we're going to just leave town. I'm leaving town in 2 weeks. I'm out of here.
Can I come?
I'm going. Yes, you can come with me. I'm going to Cincinnati.
Okay. So. Isn't that where in 30 Rock everybody wants to go?
It was Cleveland.
Cleveland, okay. Yeah.
Which we're going to after Cincinnati. So meet me in Cincinnati.
And then meet me in Cleveland.
And then we're going straight on to Toronto. If you wonder where we're going and why we're going there, it's to escape this hellhole that we live in called Texas, but also to bring our Full Moon Energy touring show to you wonderful people of Ohio and Canada. So single town in Canada, but we're going there.
You know
it's
what?
A big one.
It's one of my favorite cities that I've ever visited, though. So I'm so excited to go back. I haven't been back since our last tour, which was a totally different show. This show is you may have seen it last year when we toured it. However, we've edited and added a lot of stuff. So I would say a good 30% of it is new stuff. So even if you saw it last year, come back out because it's always such a fun time, and it's everything you love about the podcast, but centered around the moon. We talk about cryptids, creepy stuff, lore, what really happened up there with the Apollo astronauts, how some people don't even think we ever really landed on the moon. So it's a good time.
What's inside of it? We'll tell you.
Yep.
And if you hit it, does it ring?
I'll just tell you. It's cheese and chocolate.
Yeah, it's like a truffly center.
And Ween moved there. That's a very deep cut joke that some people will get and be like, that was a good joke. And other people are like, what? Although that album was called, I believe, Chocolate and Cheese. But nonetheless, we're here.
We're going to be there. We're going to be there talking to you about the moon. If you want to know more, go to sinisterhood.com/live shows. But you're not here to talk about us on the road, although please come see us because we want to see you. We want to tell your odd but true stories that you have all so painstakingly written out and taken the time to send to us today. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
And let's get freaky. This first one is a heavy hitter. There's a content warning of familicide and attempted suicide. This is from your daughter.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Anonymous.
And the subject line is, my mom took AP classes with a family annihilator. Anonymous writes, hey, Heather and Christy, I hope you guys are doing well. My mom and I love your podcast, and we can't wait to see you again in San Diego in September. I could go on and on about how funny, insightful, and soothing we find your guys' conversations, but that would take forever. So without further ado, let's get into it. My mom went to high school in Kenmore, New York, a white picket fence town in Buffalo. I love visiting there because it's safe and peaceful. Everything there is just so safe and normal, or at least it seems to be. It's the kind of place where nothing bad ever seems to happen. We've all heard that one before, right? Now, despite our mutual love of true crime, my mom neglected to tell me this story until recently. Somehow she'd just forgotten to ever bring it up. One day, as we were visiting my grandparents and walking by her old high school of Kenmore West, she said to me, did I ever tell you about John Justice? No, I said. I thought she was going to tell me about some comic book character or something. I mean, with a name like John Justice, that's what you would imagine, right? Well, then my mom said, he was a guy I went to high school with who killed his whole family. Cue the record scratch. What? No, I screeched. My mom then began to tell me her story, and it's one that most definitely qualifies as a brush with true crime. In 1985, my mom's senior year of high school, one of her fellow classmates was a boy named John Justice. Since Kenmore is small, the same group of smart kids were in the same AP classes since freshman year. My mom and John Justice were two of those smart seniors. They had sat near each other in their AP classes for the past 4 years. On September 16th, John walked home after school and brutally murdered all 3 of his immediate family members. He stabbed his mother, his father, and his younger brother, who was only 13 years old, to death. Afterwards, when his suicide attempt failed, he got into his parents' car and fled the scene. Devastatingly, John's crime was only discovered after he got into a fatal car crash while driving away from his house. The crash claimed the life of one of John's neighbors, who was only 22 years old at the time. This brought the total number of lives stolen by John that day to 4. John survived the crash and stood trial for the murders in 1986. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity for the murders of his father and his brother, and guilty of manslaughter for the murders of his mother and his neighbor. John was released from prison in 2005 on parole, but quickly rearrested due to his, quote, erratic and disturbing behavior. He has been denied parole ever since and has been deemed, quote, mentally unfit for release. Back in 1986, though, my mom was her high school's yearbook editor. She remembers going through the senior class's yearbook photos and having to decide whether or not to include John's picture in the yearbook. She didn't. Thankfully, justice was served in this case. I had to make the pun. Sorry. Though the pain John caused can never be healed, his incarceration prevents anyone else from being harmed by his actions. I hope my mom's Brush with True Crime was an interesting read for you, whether or not you read it on an episode. Thank you so much for reading, and we'll see you in September. Keep it creepy.
Well, Anonymous, this is this article is from 1985 talking about the incident, and it's something like that, especially when, like, Anonymous's mom was going to school with him, to know that he just left school one day.
Yeah.
And that was the day he did. In the article, it said he had been planning it for a long time, and that seemed like it was centered around their mocking of his college dreams, is what he said.
Yes, the article says, quote, his parents were, quote, constantly put him down for wanting a college education. He'd been thinking of killing them for 2 years, according to a detective on the case. So I guess one day he just finally snapped. It's awful. I would be curious to know why he received manslaughter for 2 of the murders and then first degree for the other ones. What would be the difference in those?
Some states, depending, manslaughter can be like heat of passion. You can argue it's voluntary versus involuntary. The grades of murder and stuff vary, and they may have changed since the 80s as well. But it also is interesting that if he was found in GBRI, as we call it, not guilty by reason of insanity, that he would ever have been paroled if immediately he was having erratic and disturbing behavior. That doesn't seem like he should have been let out. Normally when that happens, somebody is assessed once a year, every year, and they say, oh, yes, you're a danger, you're not still a danger. But I'm glad that he has been denied parole. If, the first time he was out, he was showing that. And if they are still evaluating him every year, it sounds like they're keeping tabs on it. But it's a curious thing to have that be the explanation. It seems sort of simplistic, and that's what he said. But if he was found not guilty by reason of insanity, I imagine there's a lot more factors at play.
Yes, I'm rereading it now, and I misspoke. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity for the murders of his father and his brother, but guilty of manslaughter for his mother and his neighbor. So
yeah, the neighbor manslaughter is pretty cut and dry. Yeah, but I imagine for the mom, if there's an argument of, she said something, like you said, you just snapped. That's often the argument you try to use is, I didn't know what I was doing. I was, more often it's used of, I walked in on my spouse cheating on me, or I walked in on someone attacking my family member, my kid or something. But perhaps it sounds like it was successful in this case, but that is an eerie thing for your mom. And we don't often think about that afterwards of something, a simple thing like, we don't want to put him in the yearbook, right? This is.
That's a hard call to make. One that I think shouldn't have fallen to your mom. She shouldn't have had to make that decision as a senior in high school. Somebody else could have, the principal or something perhaps. But that is, it's that trickle of trauma that, like, even kids in his class to, I'm sure he had friends at school, and then like how it affects you going forward, to know that for 4 years you've been in this guy's classes and then one day he just snapped. It seems, and I'm surprised, like you said, that he got parole because the investigation showed he'd been planning this for 2 years. So I would think that would have been off the table for a while.
Yeah, it sounds like they changed their tune there pretty quickly, and I'm glad that they did so before he hurt anybody else.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Anonymous, for sending that in.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
Do you ever smell something and it just transports you back to a certain time in your life?
Yeah, it makes you want to have like a fruity drink on the...
One thing that's doing that for me right now is Osee's Undaria Algae Body Oil. It smells like summer, y'all. It's bottled summer. Somebody finally, everybody's talking about lightning in a bottle, but we don't talk about summer in a bottle enough. And that's what this is. It's all natural, has notes of mango, mandarin, grapefruit, lime, cypress. I love the cypress in there because it gives it kind of like an herbal smell, which just balances everything out. It's not too fruity. It's not too sweet. It's like perfect. And the way it feels on your skin, ooh, Lordy, it goes on smooth and makes you feel just like good. You just like, I feel good. I look good. Everything looks like oiled. I feel like I have a glow about me and I smell good too. And right now you can get 10% off your first order with our code CREEPY at OSEAMalibu.com.
I already loved OC. I loved some of their face stuff, and I was so excited to also try the Undaria algae body oil. And it makes you, Paris, first of all, was like, oh, did you change your lotion? And I was like, yes, I am extra smooth, because I saw on social media people love this product already and recommended putting it on straight out of the shower without even kind of drying off too much. And I thought, I couldn't possibly do that. But with this OC Undaria algae body oil, I'm like, I can be glowing and I can be smooth. And plus, it is a women-founded and led business, and I feel good about this.
We love that. We love women-founded. I love anything that improves skin elasticity, moisturizes, leaving me silky and soft, and smells good. Those are all boxes that I would like to have ticked. And I'm picky about oils because sometimes they're greasy. This one is not greasy at all. And it's clinically proven to instantly improve skin elasticity and visibly firms and makes your skin feel more sculpted and toned, which nobody's ever complaining about that.
Not at all. It's that sexy, good smelling, good feeling stuff. So if you want to get on the OC bandwagon with us, get healthy, glowing skin for summer with clean, vegan skin and body care from OC. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code CREEPY at OSEAMalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. Head to OSEAMalibu.com and use code CREEPY for 10% off.
This next one is from Leb on behalf of Leb's uncle, and the subject line is Carjacking, Kidnapping, Drunk Guy Situation. Hello, ladies. Here's a story I dragged out of my uncle. So a few weeks ago, I was driving east about 10 miles past Pagosa Springs, Colorado, when I saw a huge cloud of dust and then a car rolling across the highway a couple hundred yards in front of me. The car went off the shoulder and back onto the road again, going sideways, and immediately rolled 3 times into the ditch on my side of the road. The car was upside down, 4 wheels up. I immediately pulled off the road, hit the emergency flashers, and called 911 to report the accident. Incredulously, a man climbed out of the overturned vehicle and jumped into my passenger seat. I said I had 911 on the line and asked if he wanted to talk to them. But he grabbed my phone, ended the call, swung his arm square across my chest, and said, "Just drive or I'll break your neck." Assessing my situation, I asked him where he wanted to go. At that point, he just wanted me to drive faster and kept telling me to pass the cars and trucks ahead of us. I started to make small talk at first, hoping he'd calm down. "Are you hurt?" I asked him. "Where do you want to go?" It was obvious he had been drinking and was in full fight or flight mode. I let him talk and let him know I'd help, so he wouldn't think of me as a threat. He said his name was Terry, which turned out to be a fake name, so not sure how much he told me was actually true. He eventually volunteered he had been sober 3 years, but started drinking again a few days ago. He still had my phone, but I asked if there was anyone he wanted to call, a sponsor or somebody else. He said he had been in a mental facility, but had just packed up everything and split. He mumbled about quitting an $80,000 a year job and how his life was a mess and everything he had was back in the car that he had just rolled over and abandoned. I was reluctant to go back because it would be out of my way, but I finally turned around and he offered to pay for gas, and he suggested I tell anyone who asked that I, quote, offered him a ride. He seemed to have calmed down and now trusted me. A few minutes later, the state police pulled me over. The officer on the scene went to the passenger side and said he pulled us over because there was a bolo, be on the lookout, for a Sprinter van fitting my RV's description that left the scene of an accident. The officer smelled alcohol and asked about drinking. Terry said he'd had 1 or 2 drinks. I said none. I hesitated to blurt out the situation with only one officer on the scene, not knowing what Terry was capable of doing. For some reason, the officer just left us alone for a good half hour, while another cruiser or 2 pulled up, another state trooper, and a local deputy sheriff's car. All the while, my kidnapper was wanting to know what I'd say to the police. I just said, "Depends what they ask." By this time, there were 4 or 5 officers on the scene, apparently discussing what to do next. I guess they were conferring with police on the scene of the accident, 50 miles away near Pagosa Springs, that were trying to gather information from the overturned vehicle. I kept saying, I wonder what's taking them so long. And finally, even though I know you're not supposed to exit your vehicle after being pulled over, I jumped out and quickly told the paroleman on my side of the car the situation. By the time I turned around, the other officers already had Terry cuffed. Terry was arrested with several charges, including kidnapping. I think it's funny an old man can be, quote, kidnapped. Thanks for reading, Nephew Leb.
Unc, you got kidnapped.
You got up-napped.
Dude, you just pull over thinking, oh my gosh. I mean, I've done this. I've been on a road trip and saw a crash, and my brother-in-law was driving and was like, I'm going to go up there and see if everything's okay. And thank God that it wasn't a driver that jumped out and was like, just fucking drive or I'll break your neck. Yeah. That's so scary.
It reminded me of the mini-sode we did about Margie Palm, that instinct that your uncle Leb had to just remain calm, ask questions, not panic, to kind of gain the trust of the perpetrator, which in Margie's case luckily worked out for her, and in your uncle's case worked out for him. But that is, it's a skill to keep your cool in a situation like this. So kudos to your uncle. He sounds like somebody you want in your corner when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, right. It's like realizing, okay, this person is in fight or flight. They're freaking out. If I make myself a resource for them, then they won't see me as a threat. And he just said he was going to break my neck. So it's like, I'll drive you anywhere. What about back to my car? Oh, that's kind of out of my way.
Yes, there was an LOL in there. So I think he obviously knew that was silly. It is a bit wild that they just left y'all in the car for a half hour, but also for your uncle to be like a half hour of sitting there with this person that you're like, I don't know what this guy, does he have a weapon? I don't know. Again, cool as ice, this guy.
Yeah. He's just like, wait it out, wait for your moment. And then when you see it's time to jump out and grab the patrolman, you're like, this person has kidnapped me and I didn't know how to tell you, but you should probably put some handcuffs on him. And the patrolman's like, what?
Also, I am so sorry for leaving you for a half hour in the car with him then.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I don't want to be like a cop pull you over and be like, we were on a bolo for your vehicle because and it's like, oh no, I've been hunted by the police. But in this case, you're like, yes, please pull me over. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm like, I'm going to run a red light, whatever it takes for you to pull me over.
I think about that. I think it was from like maybe a Rescue 911 episode when I was little, but somebody had jumped in their car, like rear-ended somebody, or maybe like ran into something because a cop was around and they knew that it would cause it. And I'm like, that's what you got to do. But 50 miles is far away from where you were. So I'm glad that they eventually caught up with you. But that's wild. And I never really thought about kidnapped being used universally, even if it's not a kid. It is interesting that there isn't a word for if it's an adult.
Right. We've just kept kidnapping. And the statutes say it, like, because we were just looking for Micah Miller. I was looking at federal kidnapping statutes, and they don't say adult napping, person napping, anything like that. But we do, I think, kind of when, if the news is being like, there's been a dog napping or whatever, but not more of like a fun moniker that we all give it, not actual. But
there's not an uncle napping. There's not an uncle napped, but maybe napped should be added to the list of things people can be charged with.
Well, Leb, send our regards to your uncle, please, and thank him for sharing this with us.
This next one is from Jules, and it's called Revenge is a Dish Best Served Cold. Jules writes, I've written in before and told you how much I love and appreciate all you two do. As nothing has changed, I'll just get into it. This story took place in the 90s, and there's definitely an element of the boys will be boys attitude, which, of course, is problematic. I want to preface my story by saying that I would hope the moms involved would take what happened more seriously today. A few families we knew, made up of moms and their respective kids, went to a mutual friend's cottage for a week one summer. As such, the dad stayed behind because of work. One particular kid was what most parents back in the day might call a little shit disturber. We'll call him A. On the first night of the trip, A thought it would be funny to get the other preteen boys together and go through all the girls' belongings and find their underwear. They then flung them around the upstairs of the bunkie we were staying in like pervy Christmas tinsel. When we, us preteen girls, found this display the next day, we were outraged and spent at least an hour trying to collect and repack our things. We went to the moms and complained. While they sympathized with us, they didn't do much other than tell the boys off. We wanted to get back at them, but didn't know how. One of the moms, whose son was A, had been quiet while we told everyone what had happened. She eventually said, "Don't do anything." We rolled our eyes, initially thinking she was protecting her son, but then she clarified, "Take the paddle boat out into the middle of the lake. Make sure the boys hear you talking about how you want to get back at them and that you're going out to form a plan." We were confused because we didn't have a plan. She elaborated, "They'll know you want to get back at them, so they won't trust anything you do or say. They'll be too paranoid to come near you. You'll see." So we did what she suggested. We went out on the boat and probably talked about whatever teen heartthrob was on the latest cover of Teen Beat in 90s girls fashion. We waited a half hour before we headed back to shore. And ladies, let me tell you that paranoid was an understatement. As soon as we got back, they tried to get us to tell them, quote, our plan. We just smiled and shook our heads. All we had to do was pretend we had something planned as revenge, and they did the work for us. They didn't trust any food or drink we offered them. I remember one kid actually dug through his food and kept sniffing at it because he thought we'd put something in it. They wouldn't sit on anything we suggested because apparently we were like a more adept roadrunner setting up booby traps. They wouldn't even play with any game equipment we pointed out. The boys were so convinced that we were trying to sabotage them that they ended up sabotaging themselves. All we had to do was keep giggling, knowing they would assume the worst. After a few days, we tried to come clean and tell them we didn't have a plan other than making them think we did. But they still didn't trust us, even though the moms tried to confirm nothing was happening. It ended up being a good week. The boys left us alone and helped out more than expected. I think they thought they'd be safer if they stuck around the moms when they couldn't avoid us girls. Before we left for home, they asked again what we'd actually done. We repeated everything we'd already tried to explain during the week. It was then they realized that they did everything to themselves. They tried to call foul, saying we'd ruined their week for nothing. But the moms simply shook their heads and told them they had it coming. Up to that point, I'd hoped they might learn their lesson. They might have thought it was a funny prank because it was just underwear. But what they didn't realize, and perhaps still don't, is that it felt violating. Someone rifling through your things without permission is bad enough, but to also have them touch and display the most intimate pieces of clothing you own, and then for them to try and normalize their behavior while downplaying our feelings about it by being adamant that it was funny and that we just don't have a sense of humor. All while they were still only preteens? Hard fucking nope. I'm glad the dads weren't there that week, because knowing what I know now about most of them, they likely would have modeled more shitty behavior that would have perpetuated the idea that females are just too sensitive these days. Insert eye roll so deep it hurts here. As a mother to 2 boys, I'll be ensuring that they're thoroughly educated about boundaries, accepting no as a full sentence, and being funny without resorting to frat boy humor. While I was writing this out, I could almost hear your reactions in my head, and it made me laugh. Thanks to you both and to everyone else in the Sinisterhood community for calling out toxic bullshit, standing up for other women, and providing a safe space for those who need it. You're all the best. Keep it creepy.
Oh, Jules, this is just, there's an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show called The Impractical Joke where Buddy plays a trick on Rob and Rob does nothing. And he'll just be like, hey, buddy, I got you a donut. And he really did get him like a totally fine donut. And Buddy's like, I know, there's mayonnaise in this donut. Or you spit in it. Everything. He'll be like, let me get you a chair. And he's like falling all over himself. And that's exactly what these kids did. That paranoia just gets them. Even when you're like, I swear, I'm not planning anything. They ruined their own trip and they deserved it.
Yes, I think it's really... this is a really good example. And I remember things like this happening when I was a preteen, specifically with like your bra or underwear of like, you know, somebody you're at a slumber party and the brother of the girl and her friends like get into your stuff and everyone thinks it's funny and whatever. But like really in the 90s, we didn't, you know, have the luxury of being like, actually this is really violating and it makes me feel, I mean, I guess we could have said that, but no one did. But that's exactly how you felt. Like you felt embarrassed and shameful and violated. Like, this is my underwear. This is the most intimate thing. And you've touched it and thrown it around. And now I'm the bad time. Yeah. Because how dare I be like, what are you doing when, you know, it becomes like, you don't get it. You don't have a good sense of humor. It's like, no, this is a boundary that you shouldn't cross. Don't be touching my shit. And I'm glad
it's not unreasonable.
No, what a good suggestion from A's mom. And probably she has some experience with her kids. She wasn't surprised by that.
No,
it was like,
little shit.
Here's what you do. But, yeah, it sounds like, by doing nothing, we are our own worst enemy and they sabotage themselves.
They really did. My mom would have called a kid like this a little shit. There's a lot of little shits like that. But Jules said, you know, maybe if this happened nowadays, the moms would be able to point something out. And I think that's just to say that our generations are very fortunate that we went through situations like this and then now have come out on the other side going, I didn't like how that felt. And I do have the power to say no and stop it. Because like Jules said, you know, if the dads had been there, they might have been like, oh, leave the boys alone. And ladies, don't tell the girls to get back at them. They're just having fun. And so having the moms there going like, no, you should get revenge. That's like one little step. And then we all were the little girls who got revenge, and we've now grown up that we're like, oh no, we're not even throwing those panties around in the first place. Yeah. We're not doing that.
No.
And anytime it's like, well, you just don't have a sense of humor. I'm like, I'm a professional comedian. I get paid money dollars to be funny. And what you're doing is hack shit. It's just hack. Like throwing panties is hack. Get funnier.
It's hack.
Be funnier.
It's also, it's having a laugh at someone else's expense, which is never something I want to do or want to encourage.
Right? It's like, do better, kids. But those 90s boys, I think they got plenty of revenge. Like you said, dish serve cold, where you're like, we're literally just reading our Tiger Beat. Like, why are you freaking out right now? Oh, what a sweet, like,
why don't you have
revenge.
A glass of lemonade? Why would you put in the lemonade? Nothing. You just seem like
Sugar?
You're thirsty.
Lemons?
And they're like, what did they put in the lemonade? Are they trying to poison us? Yeah, I love that.
Right? You're like, do you boys want to swim in the pool with us? They're like, they're going to pee in the pool. We're not going to go swim in. You're like, no, we get the pool to ourselves.
Hell yeah.
This is awesome.
Honestly, this is a power move. I like it.
Yeah. This kind of revenge is the kind of thing my sister would do. She's a genius, so she would have thought of that on her own without the mom. So
I love it because all you've done is say, we're going to get back at you.
Yeah.
And then everything else was created in their own head. You didn't do anything wrong.
But I love to hear that folks like Jules and you and my sister are raising this next generation of kids, and the world is going to be a better place. So it gives me a lot of hope that we can hang on to memories like this, laugh at them from what they were, look at them for what we don't want them to be for our own kids, and then go, but we're going to keep that revenge idea in there because kids are going to be kids. There's going to be a shit disturber in every group, no matter how hard you try. And it's like, I'm going to teach my kids that one.
I'm wondering if I was the shit disturber in my group.
It doesn't sound the type of a little shit or a shit disturber was always a kid that was fucking stuff up for fucking it up's sake.
No, I didn't do that.
There was kids that would just like be like, oh, I went in your kitchen and I smashed all the eggs out in the backyard. And you're like, that's rude.
That's insane.
Just like destroying things. And you're like, what are you just destroying?
Like, do you know how much a dozen eggs cost? You have to go to the store and buy some. No, I definitely did not do that. I more just get into shenanigans on my own. But I was actually a very polite and nice kid to parents and adults and everything.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured you ain't a shit disturber, but when you encounter one, this is the way to go for sure. Thank you, Jules.
Thank you, Jules, for sharing that with us. I know there's so many people listening that can relate and probably going to get a lot more stories like this now. So thank you.
It. Sinisterhood will be right back. Well, this next one is from Shanna Banana. Subject line is the 666 Elm Street Ghost Boy. My husband, me, and our 2 kids, aged 4 months and 3 years, made a move from Dallas to Denver in 2020 for my husband's job. We moved into a rental house, and before we even moved, I thought we were being scammed because the listing said the address was 6671, but on the street view, the house number said 6661, and yes, it was on Elm Street. It ended up being all good, and we moved in. Shortly after moving in, the basement flooded, and it needed major repairs on the plumbing as well as renovating the basement due to water damage. After they began with the basement renovation, I began noticing weird things. It was a tri-level house with a main floor, an upstairs, a garden level, and a basement. I would put my son, 4 months old, down for a nap upstairs in my room, and then I'd usually hang out on the garden level and listen to y'all and do laundry. But every so often, I'd hear footsteps in my room from above me, walking around, and then my son would wake up. It wouldn't even be time for him to wake up, and he was a great nap taker. My nephew stayed with us over the summer and would text me at night asking if the kids were running up and down the stairs. But they would be soundly asleep next to me. Eventually, we all started hearing footsteps at some point, which typically sounded like a kid running around, but the ones I heard upstairs sounded like an adult. One day, my daughter, 3 at the time, said to me, "Mom, there's a little boy at the door." Clearly, there wasn't. A few months later, my husband and kids were on the garden level, hanging out and playing. My husband later told me that while down there, he was laying on the couch while the kids were playing, when all of a sudden, he saw a little boy, about 7 or 8 years old, wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, walking towards him. The boy stopped and just stared at my husband. My husband said the boy then walked toward the stairs to the main level and disappeared. My husband is a huge skeptic and has never believed in ghosts. Well, a couple more months passed, and I had my neighbor over checking out my new sewing machine in the basement. As we were heading back up, she was ahead of me. We walked up the basement stairs to the garden level, and then we started up the other set of stairs to the main level when she stopped, turned around, and asked me if my kids were home. I said no, and she said she didn't think so, but asked because she just saw a little boy turn the corner on the main level as if he had just gone up the stairs. She said she mostly saw just his white t-shirt and that he looked to be about 7 years old. I never told my neighbor about the experiences we were having, so this really validated everything for me and also freaked me out. My mom came for a visit and we bought a Ouija board to try and contact the boy, which I'm not sure we really did. Who knows if those actually work. But we had a lot of ghostly experiences in that house, and I am glad to be back out of there and back in Texas, baby.
Okay, Shanna Banana. Well,
that's a spooky ghost if you're happy to live in Dallas when you could live in Denver. I'm just saying, that must be a really scary ghost.
I was like, I'd move to Denver into this house if it, with this ghost, address? If it just meant that I got to, like as a summer home, I'll be there for, I'll share a home with a ghost to get out of this place.
Isn't it a thing when the ghosts come in, a blast of cold air comes in? So I'm like, I get the Ouija board.
Haunt
I'm like,
my house. God damn, please. Honestly, haunt my yards, haunt my front yard and my backyard. I don't know. I just need cold spots throughout the yard so I can just stand in them.
Come up, haunt underneath my shirt if you want. Down my short, down the back of my shorts. That'd be all right. I wouldn't say no. But this is eerie. Something like this where you kind of hear it at first and you're like, oh, well, we had plumbing issues. Maybe it's plumbing, but it's like, well, we just had all of our plumbing fixed, so it's probably not that. And
well, also
my husband stared at him.
You saw a ghost. This is gonna sound, I'm probably inviting something.
Why? Well, you just said you wanted it like 3 times.
I'm just saying, I want to see something like that, like to where I'm like, oh, I just literally saw a child in this house that isn't mine disappear, like proof positive with my own eyes. That's what I'm asking for. But am I? Because do I want to really see that?
Yeah,
but I do. But I don't. I don't know. But I mean, the fact that the neighbor said the same thing, that that would make me stop in my tracks and perhaps move back to Texas.
Yeah. Right. Especially because the neighbor was so nonchalant and like, oh, is that your kid? Like, I just saw a kid run upstairs. Is that your kid? And then you have to go, no. Wow. You must have something wrong with you. You better leave this house, Margaret. It was nice seeing you again. Slam the door. And meanwhile, she's like, I'm seeing things.
And meanwhile, you're like, www.zillow.com. Like, we're going to move right now. Now, I will say,
trying to sell this.
Bold move, getting that Ouija board and just see, like, let's just open it up. Let's open this portal right on up.
Fucking hard left at the end. Be like, I don't know. My husband's kind of a skeptic. So I got a Ouija board out. Like, fuck, open that portal, girl. You opened it and then you left town.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Godspeed to the new neighbors. What you got to do is you get an old typewriter and then you write, to the new inhabitants of 6661 Elm Street.
Yeah.
It's now your turn.
And then you get a podcast episode made about you and a Netflix series.
Exactly. With that one guy in it. What a time though, man.
Some stuff like this. My first thought, honestly, I didn't really have a first thought, but I thought, this is like when people say everything is happening at once and time is just like stacked on top of each other. And I'm like, what if that's just like another time and there's a glitch or something? I don't know. But then if I think about that stuff too much, my brain starts to leak out of my ears. So I got to stop myself.
I think you're 100% right, because that's what some paranormal people will say, oh, that's a residual ghost, where it's like a repeat of like a moment in time that's just on repeat. And it's not like interacting with you and like sees you. It's just kind of doing its own thing and walking past you or whatever. I told you I thought that the ghost at my parents' house, which my mom's like, stop saying my house is haunted. But I thought, at least it was when I was a teenager, because my dad also saw it. It wasn't just me, but it was the same thing where it was like almost like on a loop. Like it would walk down the hallway in one direction. Like this kid seems like he's just walking up the stairs over and over again.
You're a One Direction fan.
Yeah, they're. But
I was thinking that is one thing too. I was thinking it was another universe happening in the same time that we are, and in their timeline, he's just walking around the house, and there's like a glitch, and you just kind of like see a glimpse into that world for a second.
Yeah, I mean that's I thought that's how time worked. That it's like a stack, not a line. I don't understand
how time
that.
Works.
It's like pancakes, right? Not like sausage links linked on the table. It's like a stack of pancakes.
Some people, in my head, it's sausage links, but I think everybody likes to say it's pancakes, but I can't wrap my head around that, so I still go sausage links.
You go sausage links. Well, I'm thinking time is pancakes, but there's a new movie I just saw a preview for, and it's the newest Robert Zemeckis movie. He directed Back to the Future, so it makes sense, called Here, and it stars Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and it is about, from what I could tell, this one single piece of land, which is like where these people live in a house. And it's like everything that happened there from like way back in prehistoric days to like all the way to the future. And it's like all different. The preview was just showing like look like a caveman type of person, like wandering through, and then just animals and dinosaurs, but then like someone in the 70s and someone in the 2000s, but it's like physically the same location.
They're coexisting? Do they see each other?
From what I can tell is it's like the story of this space, but the idea is that I think quantum and physics wise, it's a stack of pancakes, and all of those scenes are all happening at once. But Robert Zemeckis is like, I'm trying to make a movie, so it goes like start to finish. So he's doing
watch that.
Stuff. So I would totally watch it. I love Tom Hanks.
I love Tom Hanks, and I like the concept of that. It is a really hard thing to wrap your head around. That I don't know that anybody really knows the answer to.
Yeah, it's all conjecture.
Whatever was going on in your house, it seems like that little boy was waking your kid up from a nap. Now, that's where I have an issue.
You better not.
Haunt me all you want. Please cool my house down. But if you wake up my baby before their nap is over, we're going to have words.
You're like, I'm going to exorcise the demons. And it's me. I'm the demon.
Yeah.
I'm the scary
You're
thing.
about to have to deal with me, which is far worse than a demon.
4-month-old? While I was trying to listen to my podcast and get my laundry done, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's why you cut into me time, and that's really when I have to bring out the Ouija board, because I'm sending you back somewhere.
Yeah, cardinal sin. Well, what a way to have to leave your house. But thank you, Shanna, for sending us that. And welcome back to Texas. So sorry you're here. Just kidding. All right. Sinisterhood will be right back. Well, this next one is from Curly Birch, and the subject line is, I think I saw a Sasquatch, or it saw more of me. Well, this is one of those things that I've never shared, but I've become a big fan of your show over the last few months and figured I should throw this out there now and get it out of my system. Thank you both for creating such a welcoming community that helped me feel comfortable with sharing. Back in the 2010s, I took part in the huge shale gas boom in the northeastern U.S. At the time, it seemed like a great move. But looking back, not the biggest fan of supporting that industry. Oh well, the nature of the work requires constant travel. Every time I came back on duty, I was headed to a new job site. Large crews of men would handle driving the equipment to sites, setting it up, and running things, but I was the engineer, and there weren't as many of us. So I would drive myself site to site as needed to help with the technical side of things. I'd had the luck of spending an entire work rotation in our office doing research and tidying up paperwork when, on my second to last day, my manager says, "Hey, we have a job starting up in Central PA. New customer, and they want to be ready to go ASAP. I know this sucks to ask, but can you drive over, get them set up, and then somebody else will be there when your week is over?" Drive 500 miles, work one day, drive back? Okay. I genuinely liked my manager, so all right, let's go. I know most of the major highways to get me 80% of the way there. Then it falls back onto good old GPS. If you haven't been to central Pennsylvania, it is gorgeous. Green, rolling hills, deep valleys full of quaint little groups of houses, a sprinkling of college towns. I haven't been back in about half a decade, but I do still miss it dearly. In particular, a large chunk of that area is taken up by 3 massive chunks of protected forest acreage: Allegheny National and the Sproul, and Susquehannock State Forests. This all happened in early November, and that year, leaves were still changing, but hadn't fallen yet. I'm not sure of the legal details of it, but this new customer's gas leases were predominantly located on some of those state game lands. I'd never been in this area, but the GPS route didn't look too shady, so I took an exit and started working my way towards the job site on a tiny, winding little forest road. Now, to get there on time for day shift, this meant I was passing through this area at about 4 a.m. Still absolutely dark, and the forest made it even darker. If another oncoming vehicle would have appeared, we would have had ourselves a little standoff. That, plus, I swear I could have held my arm out the window and slapped the trees as I zipped by. I'm not a claustrophobic person, but I was definitely on edge, trying to ride that line between driving at a good speed, but still keeping an eye out on the side of the road to avoid any deer or animals that might zip out in front of me. I come to a point that had a typical foresty style sign: "Alert, rock feature ahead," or "Scenic outlook ahead," something like that. Okay, I thought, I like those things. I'm sure it'll be interesting. Now, I pop around a corner in the road, and I see a few things very quickly. See the rock? Massive. If it was hollow, my entire work truck would fit inside there. Thanks for the heads up sign. Did not expect that here. They also ran the road right beside the rock, so there was also a curves ahead sign, the wavy arrow one. Okay, gotcha. Pay attention to the road. And at the top of that sign, hand on my heart, 2 big bright circles that were very obviously eye shine from my headlights. And then I'm past it all. Still cruising down the road, I'm probably 40, 50 feet past it all by the time my brain processes everything. I glance at my rear view, nothing. My taillights aren't bright enough to show me anything, plus I'm still moving away from it. For a split second, I think about tapping my brakes to light things up, but then I'm coming to the road curves and I need to focus on driving. As I keep rolling, I am wired. If those were eyes, they were easily the size of a billiard ball or a baseball. Also, something I don't think most people think about is how large road signs are. They're meant to be huge and readable at speed, so folks don't realize that they're usually 2 to 2.5 feet wide, and they sit 5 to 6 feet off the ground. So whatever I saw had eyes about 7 or 8 feet off the ground. 8 feet tall, massive eyes. Did I just drive by Pennsylvania's largest owl, perched on a sign in the middle of nowhere? Honestly, an owl that big is terrifying in its own right. I keep driving to the job, white-knuckling and talking to myself the whole way. You stop it. You stop it right now. You're a goddamn engineer. You are not going to call your boss and tell him you were late to the job because you smoked past a Bigfoot and are having a mental breakdown over it. I keep it together, find the job site, and the routine of work helps me calm down, and I slowly fall into my usual work rhythm. I'm there in time to start doing what I need to do at 6 a.m. I do our usual 12-hour shift, and then at 6 p.m., I'm packing up to leave. By then, it was getting dark, but it wasn't completely pitch black out yet. Quick note about how most of these sites are made. They aren't just put in convenient locations. They put the wells where the gas or oil are easiest to reach. So if that means building an entire new access road out to the middle of nowhere, then clearing a hillside and creating a huge packed gravel pad the size of a football field, they're going to do it. That's what we had here. Sometimes, all the heavy equipment moving around on these jobs can get a little crazy. So to make sure I was able to leave on time, I parked right near the entrance of the site, with the rear end of my truck pointing out towards a tree line that's maybe 100 feet away. I wandered towards my truck, using the light from portable light stands and vehicle headlights to make sure I don't trip on anything, and start the process of changing out of my boots and coveralls into shorts and sneakers to make the drive home more comfortable. Now, there's noise all over these sites from various engines, beeps from trucks backing up, metallic sounds of hammers being used, but you get used to all that. As I'm going about my business, one boot off, wiggling out of my uniform, I heard a noise from that tree line that I still have trouble describing. A kind of exhaled grunt mixed with a deep woof sound. Some large volume of air moving through, I believe, some animal's large chest and mouth/nose. Just once. I kid you not, for the entire 30 or 40 seconds that I stared at that tree line, I don't think I breathed or blinked. No movement, no unusual colors. Sure as hell wasn't any eye shine, even though all the job site lights had the trees lit up pretty well. I didn't see anything alive out there, but it felt like I was looking at something, and it damn sure felt like something was looking at me. I kept my eyes locked on that tree line. Coveralls on the seat. Shoes, slipped them both on. I stepped around the truck, still looking at the trees through my windows, and only broke contact when I had to climb into the seat. As you leave, there are signs marking 15 miles an hour on Access Road. And listen, I straight up broke the hell out of that speed limit. I set my return GPS and I smoked down dusty trails on that gravel road. I made sure I was going to take the proper highway route home, and I was scooting boots all the way to the nearest on-ramp. In maybe 10 minutes, I had the cruise control set for 70 and did not even think about stopping. I had a full tank and spent the next 5 hours replaying everything in my mind until I was rolling back into my driveway at home. With that much distance between me and the site, I wasn't worried about anything following me home, but I was definitely rattled for my entire 4-day stretch of days off. The boss said the job went smoothly. The person who went out after me had everything they needed. Everybody was happy with how it all turned out. My only report to him was, just another normal setup. I've done it 1,000 times. We were, and still are, pretty good buddies. But this is something I just wasn't able to bring myself to tell anybody until now. I know it's not the most wild and crazy, I fought a Bigfoot barehanded and saved the whole town kind of story, but it's something that pops back into my head every few months, and I just don't think it'll ever fully go away. If you're ever running around the woods of Pennsylvania during the wee morning hours or early evening, just be on your toes. You never really know what's walking around out there in the woods.
Oh.
Bigfoot liked what Bigfoot saw and came back for Curly Burt for another little peek. Trying to peek.
Oh, man. Those, first of all, yes, beautiful area. Driving up hill, like mountainous things like that is always gorgeous, but there is always a sense of panic because I am like, man, you break down here, you're kind of screwed. And then when the road is so narrow that you're like, 2 cars can't go at the same time. So you're already kind of on edge. And then you see 2 baseball-sized glowing orbs.
Fucking huge.
That's big.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And especially like I appreciate his description of like the sign is huge, and you're just like, oh, okay, sign. Especially if it's like 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, you're just like, that's not a real time. Why? You shouldn't be up at that time ever. Anybody, tons of people are all the time, and God bless you for doing it. But your brain is still kind of like coming back online, and to just be like, rock ahead, see a sign, giant eyes, keep going, giant eyes. You're like, wait, what?
Giant rock, giant eyes?
Yeah. Like, oh, shit.
Yeah, you're still trying to recover from the size of that rock, and then you get 2 big-ass eyes coming at you.
I think Bigfoot was like, rock ahead, watch out. Like, just trying to, like, be a buddy. Like, we should get him a vest and some, like, flags so he just makes sure nobody hits the rock. Because, like Curly Birch said, like, he didn't know that there was going to be a big rock coming up. A sign, lovely. But a Bigfoot, that's going to save lives out there. So get him a helmet and a light, like a lighted vest.
Yeah, he needs a reflector vest, some, like, orange little, like, you know, what are they called at airports?
The little glowy sticks that they use, the ATC sticks.
What are the people called at airports that bring in the planes?
The ground control, ground crew?
Control. Yeah. That's not what I was thinking of, but yeah, that I've been having an issue lately where the word I try to think of won't come to my head. Probably should start doing crossword puzzles or something to start stimulating the stuff up there. But
no, it's always hard to like pull it. I just saw New Heights. Travis was like, what he was trying to describe Austin Powers, and he was like, that movie with the guys, and he just goes, I wish I was smarter. I wish I could just reach into my brain files and pull out the word I'm trying to say. I'm like, dude, we all wish we could just reach into our brain files and pull them out.
Yes, often, many times, every day. Well, we got to get up to northeastern PA and see what's going on up there. Go on a little squatch hunt.
Squatch hunting. It's so beautiful because we flew into Pittsburgh and then we didn't really drive further northeast. We drove south to West Virginia, but all that whole area of like central southern Pennsylvania and like West Virginia, all just like big gorges and like beautiful trees and stuff, and like 100% Bigfoots live there, like all over. Everybody's like, you can't know. I'm like, you can't go. There's so many trees. Do you know what's in there?
That's
and maybe they come down, pick at you. Yeah. Come to Pennsylvania. We're thick. And then it's just a Bigfoot with a big ass.
With his booty.
We thick. Well, thank you, Curly Birch. I can see why you wouldn't want to tell your boss that, but thanks for telling us.
I'm so glad you did, and I'm glad that our community allowed you to feel safe enough to do that, because we're certainly never going to judge anybody for talking about their Bigfoot encounter. In fact, we encourage and welcome it.
Please send it to me. Yeah, never make anyone feel bad about something that they experience. That's wrong. And especially if it has to do with Bigfoot, that is a slappable offense. Just kidding. I'm feeling feisty today. Well, thank you, Curly Birch. We very much appreciate it. And may you see many more gentle Bigfoot in your way.
It sounds like it wasn't something Curly Birch enjoyed. So I would say if you don't
gentle Bigfoot, like I said, may you see many more gentle Bigfoots.
Gentle. This one seemed gentle. He was just a little shy. Now, I will say, what's scarier, a Bigfoot or an 8-foot owl flying around the woods? I'm going owl, because that's
worse.
That's too big. That's too big of a bird for me.
Well, I agree, and it's too big, and it's talons, so it's more dangerous than Bigfoot. And also, we know that owls are natural predators.
Yeah, it could just pick your ass up and take you to a nest.
We don't know that a Bigfoot is a natural predator, so given what we know, I'm going to go with an owl is scarier. But honestly, being lifted off the ground by a giant owl, except for the talons, like, hurting you, that would be really awful. But if there was a way I could wear, like, a suit, like a leather suit, perhaps, and then the owl picks me up and then flies me away, I'd be okay. That sounds fun.
Now they gotta keep gripping.
Yes, hold on.
It's like on those roller coasters where you're like hanging out the bottom half.
This is Heather. Why are you wearing a leather vest? I'm trying to get lifted. What are you saying?
But then it takes you to its giant nest, and now's where the story really begins.
Yeah, then that's
is it going to eat you? Is it going to take you in as one of its own? Are you its
head
bride?
Off.
What
it's
is
a
it?
mask this whole time. There's a person under there.
It's a Bigfoot dressed as an owl.
I'm wearing this owl suit, and you're like, Bigfoot, it was you all along. He can fly. We just didn't know. Well, this took quite a turn, but that is the magic of Sinisterhood. So, well, thank you for sharing that story with us. And yes, may you only encounter the big feet that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Sinisterhood will be right back. Well, this final one It's from Jordan, and like we said at the beginning, this is something we can all relate to, something that's happened to most of us. And Jordan's subject line is terrorized by a toilet. She writes, "Hey ladies, I just want to start by saying I love y'all and the podcast, and I'm so excited to see y'all live in Charlotte. I was introduced to your show about 6 months ago and have been a daily listener ever since. I'm a 37-year-old woman from a small town in East Tennessee. I'm not much of a writer, but I'm going to try my best. So here we go. Let's get into it. On October 2nd, 2023, I was at my local O'Charlie's having a drink and visiting a friend who was managing that night. After about an hour of hanging out and sipping on my liquid marijuana, my tiny lady bladder was full and I needed to pee. The bathroom was small with 3 stalls, which were all vacant, so I headed into the big stall. There I was, hovering and handling business, when the sensor on the toilet decided I was done and started flushing. But I wasn't done, and this wasn't a normal flush. It kept flushing over and over and over and was getting louder and louder. The pipes were rumbling, and the water was violently swirling and smashing around like a storm was raging in the bowl. As the rumbling got louder, it was accompanied by a very high-pitched squealing noise. Oh my God, it was so fucking loud. It all started happening so quickly, water was splashing everywhere, and here I am, still peeing and getting soaked. Thoroughly freaked out, ears ringing and splattered in toilet water, I rushed out of the stall. With the toilet still vigorously flushing, I washed and dried my hands as fast as possible. Then, as I turned to leave, I noticed all the stall doors were swaying back and forth in unison. Not a slight sway either, all the way open and then all the way closed. What the fuck? I can rationalize the toilet issues to just some crazy plumbing problem, but the door swing made my heart drop into my ass. I shot out of there like a damn bullet and ran to tell my friend what the hell just happened to me and to have him go check it out. Feeling crazy and needing some validation, I went with him, and somehow everything was back to normal. Am I losing my shit? How the fuck is that possible? The toilet had stopped loudly and aggressively flushing, the stall doors had stopped moving, and there was no water mess from all the splashing. Well, except on my pants. There was definitely water on the floor when I had initially left the bathroom, and it couldn't have dried that fast. Where the hell did it go? And while I'm questioning everything, how on earth did nobody hear all that noise? I'm a naturally skeptical person, but I can't shake the feeling something paranormal is going on in that bathroom. Periodically, I ask my friend for updates, and so far, 6 other ladies have reported similar experiences in that bathroom. So, what do y'all think? Did I encounter a bathroom ghost at the O'Charlie's? Thanks for reading. Y'all are the best. Love, Jordan.
Hold on, I gotta Google liquid marijuana real quick. O'Charlie's and see what this is an actual drink or if it's just a funny way of describing something. O'Charlie's.
O'Charlie's has got some tendies when you Google them.
Liquid pot. Okay.
Their liquid pot is about to suck you down into the liquid pot and you're never going to come back.
Charlie's restaurant in, oh, damn it. This isn't giving me what I want. But how strong is a liquid marijuana cocktail? This is from just Google. The liquid marijuana cocktail has an alcohol content of 11.5%, which places it in the mid-range compared to other cocktails. For example, a classic margarita might range from 10 to 15% alcohol by volume, depending on the recipe, making the liquid marijuana a moderately strong cocktail choice. Okay, so, because I was
it's got Midori in it.
Maybe Jordan had so many of these that shit got wild, but it sounds like it's not as crazy as I was thinking.
No, it says half ounce of Malibu or coconut rum, half ounce of Midori, half ounce of blue Curacao, half ounce of Captain Morgan. So it's 2 ounces
like a fruity
total.
tropical drink.
Yeah, and then the rest is pineapple juice and Sprite with ice. So,
nothing. Why it's not like it liquid marijuana.
I don't know. It was I was doing straight Everclear shots, and then the bathroom tried to eat me. You're like, yeah, the bathroom might try to eat me, but you're like, I was just sipping on a little nice, I was having a normal evening,
a little fruity drink.
I was about to get sucked down into the bowels of hell via a toilet at an O'Charlie's, which sounds honestly like it could be a portal now.
I have been in this situation, not at an O'Charlie's, but where you get that toilet where it's just continuously swirling and it is an auto flush and you're like, bitch, I'm trying to go. I don't want all this splashing on me. It's so gross.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually at like a sporting, like an arena of some sort.
Oftentimes. Yeah. Where they're like, this thing will flush. We swear to God. And I'm like, it doesn't stop flushing.
No.
This is nuts.
No.
It's like a double dutch. You got to pee while the water is there because it's just sucking down every 5 seconds.
You can't. And then the weirdest part of this to me, yes, the doors swaying open and closed. That's wild. But the water being gone.
And everything's like, I don't like that the ghost is like, oh, you're going to go tell people that the toilet flushed all over you? Good luck. They're going to think you peed yourself.
I'm mopping this up.
This ghost is mean. Or the ghost is like, I'll clean it. No worries. Go ahead. Go enjoy your drink. I'll clean the bathroom.
Damn. Ghosts got to know that no one likes getting public bathroom toilet water splashed up on their ass when they're trying to pee. So I feel like this is rude. This is a rude ghost that seems to be targeting women. And I think you should form a support group. If there's at least 7 of you plus the 6 others, there's got to be more. If you have been accosted by a ghost, by a toilet in the O'Charlie's, please let us know because we might be onto something here. In Charlotte.
Share your story.
Oh, also, thank you so much for coming to the show. That was a super fun time. So we are so glad you were there.
Oh, we had a blast. Yeah, definitely. If anybody else has had something similar at a place like that, specifically at the Charlotte O'Charlie's, please let us know. But that's the kind of thing that a bathroom ghost, you got to be helpful. Like it made me think of the Texas Theater.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Ghost is allegedly it like gives you paper towels. Like it's like here's some paper towels.
But it's still sometimes I hate when they give you just a tiny little strip and then you're like, I'm like, now I look like a hog trying to get 5 pieces of this out, but it makes one complete piece of paper towel actually.
And then it's just like the size of a Kleenex. Yeah. I'm like, man, or the ones where it's like just pull and I'm like yanking it out. It'd be great to have a ghost to just, if y'all don't know what we're talking about, we did our special live at the Texas Theater live on Moment, but you can also watch it as a perk on our Patreon. But we did a whole segment about the ghosts of the Texas Theater we were in, and apparently they have a bathroom ghost. So I can see why water, if it's an energetic conduit, a bathroom would be a place to attract ghosts.
It's a literal portal.
Literally.
I mean, things live in the sewers. Pennywise did.
That's right. It's a potty portal. Well, don't get sucked in the potty portal. I don't think
a portal potty.
Portal potty. There it is. Well, I'm glad to hear you're not alone, but I'm sorry this has happened to more than one person, Jordan.
1 time, it's a fluke. 2 times, that's weird. 7 times, you have a ghost.
Call the Ghostbusters. But for real,
you got to.
What a time. What a time. And now I want to try one of those liquid marijuanas. I usually just like regular, but whatever. Might switch it up.
I gotta do some more. My brain this whole time is like, what an interesting name, because that is not what I would have imagined the cocktail to be if somebody was like, what's in a liquid marijuana? Oh, is it green?
Because the Midori and the
that's
blue
melon,
curacao.
Right?
Yeah, and Midori's bright green.
Yeah okay. Yeah.
So makes it look green,
I'll
maybe.
Have one.
Well, yeah, right. I tried out. But, Jordan, thank you for sharing that visual of you just getting destroyed by the toilet. It was very funny, and it was hard not to laugh while I was reading it. But I'm very sorry that it happened to you, but thank you for sharing it with us.
Also, Jordan, you're an excellent writer. This was very funny and very well written. And so just know that we think it's great. So, and everyone else is going to have a blast. No pun intended. Listening to this too.
A real ass blast listening to it. Yeah, if any of y'all are listening and you're like, oh man, I want to write a story. I have a great story, but I'm not a good writer. I just saw this video from the famous screenwriter Mark Duplass, who we love. And he said that oftentimes when he does a first draft of something, he just pulls out voice notes on his phone and just talks it out. And then he takes it, listens to the voice note, and then types it out. And that is a good way to like get a story flowing. So if you've been sitting on a Freaky Friday story and you're like, oh, I'm not a good writer, don't even write. Just even if you're like going for a walk, turn your phone on camera mode. It doesn't have to face you, and you can just speak into it. And then when you get home, listen back and type it out. We'd love to hear it. Yeah.
And also, I feel like usually every time someone writes, I'm not a really good writer, and then it's like great writing. So just I promise you, we're improvisers. Our job is to make everyone around us look good. So we're never going to make anybody look bad on this,
Not at all. And all y'all do so great because you're yourselves. And that's it. Being authentic. And every single one of these stories, I feel like I can hear you talking. And I try to, we both try to bring your voice out. So you being authentic and writing it with your real voice is the best. And we hope we get to see you in person again someday.
Yes. Well, thank you, Jordan, and everybody else who sent in your Freaky Friday stories. If you have an odd but true story, maybe you've encountered Bigfoot, you've seen a UFO, you had a brush with true crime, or you felt the presence of an otherworldly being in an O'Charlie's bathroom, please send them in at Sinisterhood.com/Freaky Friday. I'm going to take a little PSA time to say, please use the form. I love getting emails. It's just much easier when they get dumped into our form because of the way it just kind of formats the whole thing. And that way also it doesn't get lost in all the other stuff in our Gmail. So everyone could please send them into Sinisterhood.com/Freaky Friday. It is much appreciated.
Hell yeah.
If you like our free episodes, you'll love our Patreon bonus content. You can join for free to see what we're up to next. We also release an archived bonus content once a month just for signing up to see what we're doing. You can also join one of our tiers and get involved with over 900 hours of bonus content. Why did I say get involved? Never said that before.
It will suck
It's a relationship.
You're going to get involved. Honestly, though, today, like somebody posted in our Patreon Facebook group a vanity plate that just said soup and was like, I hope that their spouse has one that just says tubes. And everyone was like, soup tubes. And it was like, my brain thinks too much about soup tubes. And so, yeah, you will get involved with soup tubes and all kinds of weird the things that we've established over on Patreon. But we love it. And we love everybody over there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, we have a ton of fun over there.
Well, head over to Sinisterhood.com and click shop on the top banner to check out Sinisterhood merch like t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, and even clothes for your kiddos. And don't forget, if you are a member of our Patreon in the Getting Into It or Ruling the Airwaves tier, you get discount codes that are good year-round.
While you're on our website, you can also review the show. We make it super simple to leave a review. You can follow us on socials and check out the episode description. And you'll find fun things like topic-based playlists and links to all those live show tickets for the Full Moon Energy Tour.
You can follow us on Instagram and Threads at Sinisterhood Pod. Like us on Facebook at Sinisterhood. Go to YouTube to watch full video versions of our episodes as well as certain stories from Freaky Friday. And check out, we also live stream sometimes on YouTube. And we don't really know when because oftentimes it's just like, we should stream tonight. So if you're ever like, why didn't we get noticed? It's very casual. We're just on the porch. We're going to hang out anyway.
We got to afterwards say like, hey, we did this.
Yes. So right now, I will tell you, the other day, we did a Karen Reed stream. If you've been following the Karen Reed trial, we're all, as of recording time, we're waiting for a verdict. By the time you hear this, there may be a verdict, but we plan to go live periodically. And the best way to know that we're going live is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's 100% free. All you have to do is mash a little subscribe button and click on notifications, and it'll let you know when we upload videos or when we're going live so you don't miss it. But anytime we go live, we leave the stream up so you can watch it on demand as well. We just like the live part because we get to talk to you.
It's so much fun. It's very casual. Yeah. We're on my porch.
Yeah.
We have a chalkboard.
Yeah. We'll title it. The chalkboard tells you what we'll be talking about.
Which is my kids' chalkboard. It's all started. When did we first do it? Yeah, it was. It was the listen through. And then we were like, this is fun. So we've done it a handful of times. And we always have fun. So subscribe so you know when we're going to be doing it.
Come and join. You can also join us over on TikTok. We've gone live on TikTok when we do our paranormal investigations and clips on there. And if you want a video of your own special shout out for us saying something to you, head over to cameo.com and order that custom video shout out. Happy birthday, happy anniversary, good luck, happy wedding, whatever message. We love to deliver
pep
it
talks.
on.
We do a lot of pep talks. We love a pep talk. Advice talks. I mean, anything. We're happy to speak directly to you via Cameo. So head over to cameo.com/Sinisterhood. Where can the people find you on the internet? Well, as far as I know, on Instagram and Threads at Christy and Wallace, and TikTok at Christy or GTFO. Who knows? Sometimes I just think back on my younger years and I'm like, there's shit out there that I don't know about probably. And sometimes I just think about that. I'm not, please don't anybody go looking for anything. I'm just saying, I don't think there is anything. Oh, man, I wish I
You can find
stopped
me on the
talking.
you can find me on the versus the world.
Oh, if you find an OnlyFans page and you think it's me, please DM me because it is not, and I need to, one, see who my doppelganger is and if I want it to stay up or not.
I was going to say,
get the profit split.
I was going to say, you need me to write them a letter saying you can either cease and desist or do a 50% profit share.
Yeah, I'll see how much you're making, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, then we'll talk. Well,
where are you, Heather?
I'm on the internet at Heather versus the world.
As always, the devil rules the airwaves.
Keep it creepy. Sinisterhood.